All right, this training is on how to find and complete a travel reimbursement form for when you're traveling. So keep in mind, if you're traveling, you've got some specific purchases that are going to need to be turned into our office via a travel reimbursement form instead of a regular reimbursement form. So this travel reimbursement form is used specifically for per diem meals that are purchased during your trip, for mileage, which includes gas and wear and tear on your personal vehicles, and any lodging, but you're usually not going to use it for this. There might be other charges that you have, such as paying to park your vehicle, or tolls or something like that, that can be included in the form as well. The form should be filled out after returning from a trip by whoever made the purchases. It's possible that if you travel with a team and everybody is buying their own meals and your club is reimbursing for all food purchased, then each one of those people will have to turn in a form for their per diem meals. To find the form, the first place that you're going to go is the club leader cohort page, which all of our club officers are members of. Once you get to the cohort page, click on forms, where you will find all of the forms you need for your clubs. And it's the last option, reimbursement and purchase request forms. Once you click there, you'll see two links. This is our link to our regular reimbursement form, and the second link is our student club travel form. So we're just going to click on that to download the form. And you can see we've downloaded it. You don't need to submit this form. I've got a form here that is already completed, so I'll walk you through how to complete the form. The first section at the top is identifying information for the person who is getting reimbursed. One important thing to note is that if you are traveling with a team and you're reimbursing all meals and you have, let's say, 6 people who have certain per diem meals that were paid for and need to be reimbursed, it's probably going to be easier for the treasurer or one main person who's been trained on this to complete the meals and lodging section for everybody, so that we know all of the information here is complete. And once that part is completed, download the forms and send them individually to each person so they can fill out their identifying information and put their signature on it. Then they can get it back to the treasurer for the treasurer or fund approver signature before it's turned in. So we've got a few sections here. The identifying information, the person puts in their own information. If they don't have direct deposit set up, or if they want a check mailed, you're going to put your address here. For department, you can put student life or belonging and engagement. The next section is for meals and lodging. So there's two sections here. The first section is the date, the departure and arrival time, and the destination. So you need to fill this in for each day of your travel. So we are using a pretend trip that we went up to Portland for a weekend with our team to take photographs of architecture in Portland. So we're saying that we left on 9/29 at 8 p.m. We arrived to Portland at 1 p.m. Our destination was Portland. On 9:30, we didn't have a departure arrival time. We just walked around Portland. So we were not driving on this day, just kind of going around Portland, hanging out. And then 10/1, we left at 11 a.m., arrived at 5 p.m. back to Ashland, Oregon. So put each day that you were traveling in here. If you're not driving around or like going anywhere, you don't really have a destination. Let's say you're at a conference, you can just put notes in here like walked around Portland or at the conference in Portland. So that's that first section. And then per diem. So let's talk about meals and per diem. Per diem literally means per day. But we also have individual meals or partial per diem. So this means that it's a stipend for a meal, and it allocates a specific amount of money that will be reimbursed for each meal or for an entire day's worth of meals. This amount here does not change. It doesn't matter how much people actually spend on their meals, they will be reimbursed the amounts that are provided in the form. So you can see the rates of the meals down here on the right-hand side. It says rates, meals and incidentals, partial day, full day, and then you'll see it has low and high. So a low cost area would be a smaller town. Maybe you go to Crescent City on the coast, it's not very expensive there. High would be any larger cities or higher cost areas. So you can see there are different rates for low and high cost areas. So, for example, if we are traveling on this trip to Portland, we're leaving at 8 a.m. So let's say we're expecting people to eat breakfast before they get in the car. So we're not paying for breakfast that day, but we're traveling during lunch. So we will stop and get some lunch, and then we will also pay for dinner. So we have just partial meals on the first day. The second day, we're in Portland all day long. And so they need to purchase 3 meals during that day. So we will do a meals full day for that day, which is $69. And then the next day, when we are returning, we leave at 11 a.m. and we get back at 5 p.m. So we will cover breakfast and lunch on the road. But then once they get back at 5 p.m., they're expected to eat dinner on their own. So we are not covering a full day here. When you click on the box, you will see that there is a drop down and you can choose $14.50, which is the low cost for that meal, or $17, which is the high cost. So simply click on the box and select your option. And then for full day, we've got the low cost and high cost options as well. So if you are reimbursing for food, you will want to fill this out. Keep in mind that, let's say you have a stipend for $17 for lunch. If that person only spends $10 for lunch, $17 is still going to come out of your club account for reimbursement. If that person spends $20 on lunch, $17 is going to come out of your club account for reimbursement, and the other $3 that they spent, that's their own money that they spent. So it's kind of a budgeted allocation of how much you can spend. If people spend less than that, they will still get reimbursed that amount. If they spend more than that, that amount of money is coming out of their own pocket. So make sure people understand that. The good thing about these rates is that it makes it very easy to calculate when you're planning for your trip how much your food budget will be. If you know how many meals that your team will be eating while they're traveling, then it's very easy to do the math per person to figure out how much to budget for your trip. Keep in mind there is an exception for per diem meals for travel. So this is if you're traveling to Portland and you guys are pretty much going out to restaurants for every meal. If you are doing travel where you either have like a rental house or something that has a kitchen, or you're going camping where you plan on making your own food, you can purchase groceries ahead of time, either on your own or by using Belonging and Engagement staff's help. And those grocery purchases that you're going to buy groceries and do a cookout at the campsite, those will be completed through a regular reimbursement form because you've got a receipt for that. So grocery purchases on trips does not apply to the per diem. It's really if you're just going out to eat at restaurants. The next section that we have is mileage and ground transportation. So this should only be filled out by the people who drive. And mileage is covering the cost of both gas and wear and tear on your car. So if you are driving a personal vehicle, you're driver cleared, and you're carpooling other people, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to calculate the total miles that you drive. For this trip, we don't have us driving around the city, so it's just 230 miles to Portland and then 230 miles back. So we put the total number of miles and the total number of days. You'll see that I put 2, although we have 3 days of travel. We didn't drive during this second day, so we only drove for 2 days. So once you type this amount in, how many miles total and the number of days, it will automatically calculate an amount right here. If you look over on the right-hand side, you can see some calculations for mileage over here of how it does the calculations. We have a couple other places that we can fill in information in this ground transportation section. For the most part, if you just drove your car, this is the only section you're going to fill out. The other ones are more specific. For example, if you have a rental vehicle, first of all, you should work with us to rent the vehicle first, but then you might have to pay for gas. So you can save your receipts and put in the exact amount for gas here. If you had to pay for parking, a lot of times downtown Portland, you've got to pay for parking, even sometimes at a hotel. So if you had parking costs, save the receipts and put the amount in here for parking. Some clubs also use taxis or Uber to get around in a city while they are traveling. So if you used any ride shares or taxis, save your receipts or get a screenshot from the app, and then you're going to put the amount in this section for how much you spent. For taxis and ride shares, the part that can be reimbursed does not include tips. So any tips that you leave for Uber, we cannot reimburse that amount. We will only reimburse the amount that is actually used for the ride. And then there's just a section for other. For example, you crossed a toll bridge and you had to pay $2 for a toll, etc. Once you type things in there, they will automatically be added up here. And then there's a grand total that adds anything in ground transportation as well as our meals. In this lodging section, you probably will not use that because we help you to purchase lodging ahead of time. In case unless there's an emergency and you have to purchase lodging on your trip, then you can put something in there. So once this is all filled out, this form is almost complete. The only things that we need left are signatures. In order to put signatures on this form, this is an Excel document. So if I just type my name in here, that is not a signature. That is a typed name. So the yellow boxes here, you can type your name, but then we do need a signature in the box above it. That will either mean printing out the form to physically sign it or saving it as a PDF and using a program like Adobe to do a digital signature. The claimant, the person receiving the money, should sign in this section here. And then the fund approver should sign in this section here where it says foreign travel. We're working on getting this form updated so it says fund approver instead of foreign travel, but we do need a fund approver signature such as your treasurer or your president. So once this is complete, give it to them, they will sign it, and then they can get it turned into us. We will sign it before turning it in.